Okay. So here we are. This is our second class that we're going to go into a deeper review of chapter 1 of Reb Hillel's commentary on the Mittel Rebbe's Shara Yichud. And we did paragraph 1 last week, and we're going to do paragraph 2 today, Mirz Hashem. So the first thing that I need to explain is that Mila is not able to be with us today, as she has teacher training for her school. So, so I'll be taking you through the process. So let's see. So I want you to think back for a moment to last week. I know a lot happens in a week, but just to recap, so that we recap in our minds, where were we? What did we learn about last week? So just take a moment, think about it. What was it? What did we learn about? Okay, so I'm going to volunteer somebody. I hope you don't mind. Sarah, can you just do a quick summary of what it is that we learned last week?
You want us to use our memory faculty, not to look in, right? Is that correct? So it's
just what comes up for you.
Yeah, whatever comes up. So he started with the Shema, and was a Shema talking theory, but it's pneuta ozen, which means the understanding and the discerning between true and false, and between good and bad. And I'm not sure. Don't remember. I could look. I don't remember things.
Okay, no, it's good. It's fine.
Yeah, he spoke about it. We need 2 noons.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so continue.
Why do we need 2 noons? So the whole idea is when you have a double, it is to strengthen it. And also, I believe that either my friend and myself mentioned it, or it was mentioned in the class, that it's binyan hif'il. Hitbonen, it's doing it on yourself, so it is stronger. It's one of the binyanim kvedim, like there are 7 conjugations in Hebrew, and this is one of the hard. It's called binyan kaved. I'm going to look now. Yeah. So we know that why is Shema the idea of Bina dafka to, and not Chokhmah, since Chokhmah is higher than Bina.
Okay, excellent. So in the first paragraph, the Reb Hillel was really just preparing us for the fact that we're going to spend the next 19 paragraphs or 18 paragraphs talking about Hitbonenut. So in the first paragraph, he's really just setting up why it's important for us to know about Hitbonenut, because otherwise, what are we learning about it? So as Sarah explained, he put it in the context of the Shema, that to really understand Hashem's unity, to understand that there's a creator in the universe, that we do this process through Bina, which is the process of understanding, and not through Chokhmah, which would seem to be, a higher faculty. And so he's going to show us now in the whole of chapter 1 why this process of understanding through Bina, which is our left brain, is going to take us to a very high faculty in our neshama, actually. So that's what he sets up in the first paragraph. Really, the importance of Hisbonenut, and also then 3 questions about Hisbonenut. What is it? Why does it have this double nun? And why is Hisbonenut, the word itself suggests Bina and understanding. Why do we do this process of unifying Hashem's name through Bina and not through Chokhmah? wouldn't it be better to say see, that we see Hashem, rather that we go through this process of trying to understand Hashem? Okay, so yeah, he sets up the whole thesis. Gitti's saying it's like the thesis question. So he sets it up for us. So then, now we're going to go and start to understand what is Hitbonenut. And, I ask people to make suggestions about how we can best do this process of going deeper, because we've learned the whole chapter and now we want to go deeper. So, so I want to read to you something that somebody suggested, and then I'll comment on it. And I hope the person won't mind. I'm not going to say who it was, but they suggested that really what we should do is go very slowly and not do a paragraph at a time, but go one concept at a time and meditate on it. So for example, in the first paragraph, you would meditate, you would think deeply about the idea that Hashem is the creator, and then just, think about that, and then meditate on the fact that Hashem is one and what that means to hear and understand, and the pnimiut of hearing being bina and understanding. And so I wrote back to this person to say, exactly, but that's not something we can do in a class. That is what Hitbonenut is to sit with the text and to think deeply about each concept, really. But that can only happen with you, the text, and your neshama. And it's something that you do on your own. In this class, what we can do is touch on that process. And hopefully it'll inspire you to then go and do that Hitbonenut process on your own. Like last week, I mentioned that the Frierdiker Rebbe said that Hitbonenut is like an internal dialogue. So ultimately, the real work is done with you, the text, your neshama, your heart, your mind, and you do it at your own pace. Here, everybody has different abilities, different faculties. Some are more right brain, some more left brain, and we do what we're going to do what we can. But I just wanted to say that to really put it in context, and also to hopefully inspire you to do that work, because that's really where you get the experience for yourself of Hitbonenut. And that's when you touch the Bina Liba process, is through your own internal dialogue and your own internal work. But here in the group, we'll do whatever we can to facilitate that, so that, you can at least, understand the concepts, go a little bit deeper, and so forth. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next paragraph. And in the next paragraph, the Reb Hillel says, look, in order to understand Hitbonenut, we have to understand Chochmah, Bina, and Dat. We have to understand the way that the brain works. And he starts with Chochmah and Bina in this paragraph. And he gives us a definition of Chochmah and Bina, and then he gives us an example so that we can experience it. So what I want to do is, before we go into the text, into the details, let's just kind of prepare our minds for what it is he's going to talk about, so that maybe it's a bit easier for us to do it this way than to go straight into the dry text. So I want to invite you to just close your eyes and imagine the most beautiful building. It could be a house, like your dream house, or it could be that you're in Manhattan and you're looking at the Chrysler building, or if you're in South Africa, like the Cape Dutch architecture, whatever it is, whatever comes to your mind, like something really beautiful, a beautiful house. And just look at it and feel that experience of the beauty. just that wow sensation of, wow, that is gorgeous. And just notice what that feels like, or how it thinks like how is it in your body? Where do you feel it? Or is it just a thought? And now shift your thinking. Imagine that you now want to go home and share that experience with somebody. You want to describe it to them. And now just once again, look at that building and think to yourself, how would I describe this beauty that I'm seeing? And just notice within yourself that shift in energy of like, where is that happening? This inquiry of how would I tell somebody about it? Okay, so you can open your eyes. And so now maybe I'm just going to call on people to, Nechama, can you describe to us what that was like? What was that experience?
Well, it happens that we just bought a house last week. So that's the only thing that came to mind, but it really does look very beautiful from the outside. Like the realtor took a picture of me and my husband in front of the house after. So it wasn't a lot of detail, but I had to think about what made it beautiful, like the color of the flower and the shrubs. I couldn't quite think of what the roof looked like. But it was kind of similar to, when I first saw it, the impression it made on my mind, and but mostly what I had to hold back is that it's the inside of the house that we bought. The outside happens to be very pretty. So yeah, it was nice. It was a picture, but it was just the outside. We're not gonna, although I like gardening and everything, we weren't gonna live on the outside of the house.
So my question is really more what was the experience for you of just looking at the house and feeling the beauty, and then shifting to trying to thinking about how to explain it? Did you have?
It wasn't hard to explain, but there weren't that many details, so it was pretty easy to explain. But I never would have thought of, if I wanted someone to know what that house looked like, I'd show them the picture, which is easy enough to do.
Okay.
So
first of all, Mazel Tov.
It was awkward. It was awkward explaining what the outside looked compared to the image in my mind.
Okay, so as Sarah says, Mazel Tov. That's very beautiful that you bought a house, and yeah, there's definitely that experience, that sense of, let me just take a picture and show it to you, because how am I going to, how am I going to explain the beauty to you?
Yeah. And also now in our modern pictures are available. Go online and look at the pictures that you see online. That's what the house looks like. We don't have to do that many descriptions, because pictures are, with phones are so available immediately.
Okay, is there anybody who would like to comment on that experience, what it felt like just looking at the beauty and then trying to your head shifting?
Malka, can I say something?
Yes, sure.
I did not find it easy, and I generally don't find it easy to visualize. It's not my strength. But I thought of the base of Mikdash, however I could, because, even when I learn about it, it's still hard to visualize somewhat, the whole thing together. But because I've lived in Yerushalayim, I understand, from seeing Har Bayis, the spiritual energy there. So when I was able to get somewhat of the floor, let's say, being covered in gold, and but then when it came to explaining, it was more about how do you explain that the beauty goes together with the function and it's completely one. That was my thing. That was it.
Oh, that's beautiful, that with the Beit HaMikdash, the beauty is its function. Right. Okay, so
I like to add on to that. For me, I was actually trying to see the process that you're teaching us and see that as a binyan, how things go from one thing to the next, and in order to get to Hadrei Hadarim, which is our connection with the Eibishter. And it was so much. For me, I'm not seeing it all yet. Was very complicated. A little mishka bubble, because not everything is very clear. So, but it's very exciting, because just you want to know more and more.
okay, beautiful. So Tzipi, are you saying that you abstracted it? You didn't look at an actual building, but you took it into the idea of, I guess, like Bina is building. It comes from the word boneh, that in Bina, what we're actually doing is we're building one idea onto another until you create a structure that you understand.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Miriam, you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how relevant it is, but I go back to the wonder of perception. It's like a very primal, essential wonder that we can actually perceive all of this. And then going into the next phase, my experience is just being curious about what it is. It's like that's on the very basic level of understanding the world and the creation, just generally, besides the building, but looking at this world that we're living in. So that's what came up for me.
Yeah. Beautiful. So what I hear you saying is that Chochmah experience, the sense that we can look and take in an entire scene, is quite a wonder. It's like a wow. How we take it for granted sometimes. And then the fact that you talked about the second part, which is more like the Bina part, using the word curiosity, that's interesting, because you have to shift your focus from just kind of the experience for yourself into, what is it that makes it beautiful, and into the details. So I think curiosity is a very beautiful word there. Okay, so let's have a look at, at a more left brain approach. So, what we can appreciate is that Reb Hillel is seeing something, and now he's trying to explain it to us. And what he's seeing, we don't quite know yet, but we're going to try and focus on his words and try to understand what it is that he's going to build a concept for us. Okay, I'm going to, future classes, I'm going to ask people to volunteer to read. This week, I'm going to read and translate, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this is the first page in the Hebrew, and it's the second paragraph. ויש להקדים עניין ג' חקר השכל שנקרא Chabad. So we have to begin with the idea of the three parts of the seichel, which are called Chochma, Bin, and Dat, Chabad. Mahem, what are they? Hine, bechinas Chochma, hu bechinas haskalat etzem ha'inyan, bilti bechinet hitlabshut be'otiot klal. I'm assuming that you can see my cursor, because I'm not seeing where I can. There we go, annotate. I'll do it. Why is it not? Sorry, I'm just looking for, let's see if we can, I'll do it this way. Okay, so here he's giving us a definition of Chochma. And he's going to give us a definition of Bina as well. And I really think that going forward, these are two lines that you should really try and learn, even if you're just reading from the English. So Chochma is Haskalat etzem ha'inyan, bilti b'chinat hitlabshut be'otiot klal. So Haskala, we know what etzem ha'inyan is. Etzem ha'inyan is the essence of the matter, the essence of the thing. Haskalat can be, you can translate it as the intellectual perception. The intellectual perception of the essence of the thing without the aspect of, without being enclosed in letters at all. Okay, and then in the parentheses, he says it in Yiddish, which to me suggests that he's given us a definition that is very difficult to understand. It doesn't mean anything yet. Okay. Ubechinas bina hu hitlabshut haskalat etzem ha'inyan bisfara niglet ubechinas otiot. So the aspect of bina is the hitlabshut, the enclothing of the haskalat etzem ha'inyan, which is the chochma, bisfara niglet, in explanations, revealed explanations, meaning explanations that you can understand in the aspect of letters. So here he's talking about the letters of thought when they're in Bina, and then later they can become the letters of articulation, the letters of speech. So I just want to, no, it doesn't. Okay. So, yeah. Never mind. So I want to stop sharing there for a moment because we are going to go a little bit slowly, but not so slowly. But I think that's what's really important here is, here. Do you see, are you seeing this writing? It's not, you don't see the Reb Hillel, right? You're seeing Chochma and Bina? Just somebody do a thumbs up. Okay. So what I want you to, there are not many things that you need to learn by heart in this text, but I think Chochma and Bina, it's worth learning. So I wrote it up, and when I wrote it up, I understood, look, here you have Haskalat etzem ha'inyan. Wherever you see throughout the next 19 paragraphs, Haskalat etzem ha'inyan, you know that you're talking about Chochma. Bilti b'chinat hitlabshut be'otiot klal, that it's not manifest in letters. So it's that experience where you said, wow, I'm just seeing this and it's extraordinary, but you don't yet have the Bina, which is hitlabshut, enclothing this chokhmah, that's galat etzem inyan, b'sfar niglet b'bechinas otiot. So they're letters in Bina. If you look at just the two of them, you see like a picture. There you have Haskalat Etzem Inyan, and now you have Haskalat Etzem Inyan, which is like the seed, but it's surrounded by the garments, the explanations, the revealed explanations, and the letters. So think of it kind of like a seed that's now surrounded by explanations, by the letters of explanations. And you see it literally, well, that's how I see it. Here it is. There's the Chokhmah, the Haskalat Etzem Inyan, and he could have said Haskalat Etzem Inyan Hitlabshut, but he put Hitlabshut first because it's almost like it then encloses it, right? It's surrounded by the Bina. Okay. So, oops. There we go. So let's stop sharing that. Does that resonate for you? Can you see it? Okay.
Can
So
I ask
would
a question? Can I ask a
yeah.
question? So
Yes,
I
ma'am.
got a little tripped up with the intellectual perception of the essence, because to me, intellectual is, you know, it's logic and it's verbal and it's like in the head. And even in English, essence has I think it has sense in it. So essence is just something you feel. It's like a total thing, but you can't describe it with words. So,
Right.
so what's intellectual about it, except that we're calling it chachma?
Okay, so what I hear you describing, when you're describing intellect, you're describing Bina. You're saying that, I can't quote you exactly, but the words that you used are the words that we describe in Bina. That's like the left brain function. So what he's describing here is this right brain experience. And that's why the word haskalat is hard. It doesn't really mean anything almost. But what it means is that it's in the brain.
So what's Haskalah is translated as intellectual?
Wait. Just listen before you ask. Just try and sit with it, because it's not easy. We think of the intellect as explanations and details and all of these things. But now we've learned the whole of the first chapter. You can appreciate that there's something above Chokhmah, right? And that's going to be the essence of the thing itself. But as soon as it's in the right brain, as soon as I'm seeing it, I'm processing it, it's in the brain. And so once it's in the brain, you can use the word haskala, haskalat, even though it's not processing in the way that we understand yet. It's that experience, and he's going to explain it, of we experience it more as sensing, like you say, and that's what he's going to describe. So the word haskala is hard here because usually we think of haskala as processing in the way we process in the left brain. But the fact is it's already in the brain. So just sit with that for a little bit. Gitti has a question. I'm wondering about the use of the word surrounding as opposed to chain of descent. So, you know, I'm really, Gitti, I'm saying surrounding. That because what you have is, and we see it later on, that there's a core, there's the Haskalat Etzem Inyan. And then you have to hitlabshut, you have to enclose it like garments with explanations. So it's like when you put on clothes. Inside is the Haskalat Etzem Inyan, and surrounding it, but you're right, it's also a chain of descent.
Can you
It-
please explain that again? I don't understand what you mean by chain of descent. I don't know. You didn't finish your sentence in the middle also. Sorry. Could you try
Okay.
again? Thanks.
I'm trying to answer, Gitty, maybe you can speak out your question.
So, because I'm trying to visualize, and so every word is scrupulously examined. So I'm thinking, Chachma, we see a hierarchy in the way it's always presented. It's Chachma descending into Bina, descending into Das, or developing into. And you always use the word of Ishtalshalus, which is a chain-like descent. So when you use the word surrounding, I'm thinking, oh, this is another way of presenting the development. I don't know how it happens in the Ruchnistic realm. So I'm grabbing onto words and thinking, oh, can I visualize it like that?
Okay.
So yeah, his slapshus indeed is a wrap when something is wrapped. That's very true. But at the same time, it's not going to be exactly the way we imagine it in our concrete life. So it may be wrapped in a different way. So I'm open for suggestion.
Okay, so, perhaps what I was saying was too much of an interpretation, but Gitty, those are good things to think about. So let's hold it at that, and we'll go back to the words. Miriam, you wanted to comment on that, and then let's go forward.
Yeah, no, what came
Yeah.
up for me were just two concepts of potential and ability that I've come across in the reading. And would one say that in Chochmah there's potential, and in Bina there's an ability. We have an ability to analyze and to discern. And I'm just thinking where those two ideas fit into what we're learning now.
Okay, so I'm not going to answer because, well, let's just go forward, and this is exactly the process. We're grappling with it. We're trying to understand it. So let's go back to the text. And he's going to give us an example here. So, okay. Okay. ויובן בייס בחינס הנ"ל, מהראייה בדבר מה, שיתפוס אותו הדבר במוחו בדרך כלל בלבד. Okay, so we'll understand these two aspects of Chochmah and Bina from seeing something, that you grasp the thing in your mind in a general way, like in passing only. ואז לא יוכל לספר לזולתו כלל. So you're not able to share it with your friend, to relate it to a friend at all. מצד שאין לו שום ידיעה באיכות בכל חלקי הפרטים. Why can't you tell the person about it? Because you just saw it in a general sense, and you don't have any knowledge of the quality of all the different details. So he gives us a very general example, like, you see something and you can't tell your friend about it because you just saw it kind of in passing. You saw it in b'derech klal, and you don't have any knowledge of the details. And now he's going to give us a very specific example. כמו שיביט על בניין מפואר, שמרגיש תקף ומיד הפאר. Okay, so when you gaze at a beautiful building, immediately, תקף ומיד, you margish, you sense. This is a code word here for Chochmah. And it's exactly what you were saying, Nechama. It's that experience of sensing. So this is what he's saying, margish. You immediately sense the beauty, hape'er b'mocho. You sense the beauty in your mind. Aval tam haper, but the reason for the beauty, shehu mitzad riboy hapratim shebo, the reason for the beauty, which is all the details that are in it, hamamuzagim b'maziga nechona b'tor u'b'mar'eh u'b'koma eno masig klal. You don't grasp it all. So what don't you grasp? All the details. And here the Hebrew is a little bit unusual, so we'll just go to the English. All the details of which the building is structurally composed in perfect aesthetic and structural harmony. Okay, so that's the reason for the beauty. So initially you don't sense the reason, you just have this experience, you margish. Okay, so these are code words that we're going to see coming up again and again. Margish, sensing, is chokhmah. Tam, like the reason, is going to be bina. Pratim is going to be bina. Okay, so let's go on. ולכן לא יוכל לספר, אינו מעסיק כלל, ולכן לא יוכל לספר לזולתו מהות עניין הפאר. So you're not able to share with somebody what is the mahut inyan haper, what is the mahut, what is the beauty of the thing. You can't convey that. Ma she'en ken, okay. מה שאין כן, שמשיג איכותו בכל הפרטים שבו. In contrast, when you do grasp masig, which is a code word for bina, איכותו, the quality of all the details that are in it, as hu masig ממילא tam haper, so immediately you grasp the reason for the beauty. So what he's saying here is that the reason for the beauty is in the details. As soon as you grasp the details, you immediately grasp the reason, the tam, the reason for the beauty. Up until that point, you're just kind of in that place of margish, of feeling the beauty, but you don't know why it's beauty. It's almost like an experience, which is, I think, why Nechama, you have this question of, it feels like an experience. Why are we saying that it's intellectual? But I tried to explain that earlier, that it's a function of the brain. And so we call it haskala. Okay. So immediately you grasp the reason for the beauty, shehu mipnei sheyesh bo ribo partei binyanim v'ribo minei gavanim umuzagim v'mazigot shonot. So this is once again, the reason for the beauty is all the many different details in its structure, and the different colors that are arranged in a harmonious way in different compositions. As yochal lesaper lezulato mahut inyan haper. And therefore you're able to tell your friend what is the beauty. Ki yachol lahalbisho ba'otiot, because you're able to enclose it in letters. Okay. מה שאין כן, בראייה בלבד. However, just with seeing alone, שהוא בדרך כלל השכלת עצם העניין, which is דרך כלל, in a general way, this perception, this intellectual perception of the essence of the thing only, הוא למעלה מבחינת אותיות. That experience is higher than the level of letters. There are no letters in Chokhmah. ולכן לא יוכל לספר זה העניין לזולתו כלל. And therefore, you're not able to related to a friend because you don't have the letters. And the letters, once again, just to emphasize, we think of letters as letters of writing, but actually when we think in words, we think in letters. And then when we speak, we articulate those letters, as it were. So that's the Bina experience, when we're able to take this, this Chochma Margish experience of, in this case, the beauty, and we look into it and see the details, and we're able to communicate it. So now he goes back and he wraps it all up. And he basically repeats what he said before, but he wraps it up for us very nicely. Hargashat vaskalat etzem hapa'er, the sensing and the intellectual perception of the essence of the beauty, nikra b'shem chochma, we call chochma. Ach, havanat tam hapa'er, but the understanding of the reason for the beauty, mipnei mahu mefoar kokach, meaning the reason why it is so beautiful, eno etzem hape'er, it is not the essence of the beauty. When we give over a description of the beauty, it's not the beauty itself. So what is it? Rak nimshach hitpashtus haskalat etzem hape'er. Nase como levush alav, v'zeu bechinat bina. So if it's not the beauty itself, what is it? Rak nimshach, it's drawn down from the spreading out, or the way that it's spread out from the haskalat etzem hape'er, which is the chochma, v'nase como levush, and it creates a garment for it. V'zeu bechinat bina, and this is bina. So it looks like a very complicated sentence, right? It feels like you're just crunching on words. But what is he actually saying? He's saying something very beautiful and also something very important. And if you just think about it, and we'll do another exercise where hopefully we'll feel this more. The chokhmah is much closer to the experience itself. You experience it. It's still not the essence of the thing. It's an experience of the essence. It's an intellectual, it's a brain experience. But then what is the bina? When you explain it to somebody, you know very well, it's like Nechama, you said, just look at the picture. Go and experience it for yourself. Because when you take it into the bina, something feels like it gets lost. You can't really how can you give the person the beauty? So the bina is only an explanation like of levush. It's drawing it down and creating a levush for it, a garment for the beauty, to try and communicate it. And that's what it is.
Can I say something?
Let me just finish the last line, and then you can. Okay. והנה כל זה הוא בחינת חוכמה בינה בשכל שבעשייה. And all of this is chokmah and bina in the sechel, in the intellect of the world of Asiya, which means this physical world. Okay. So yes, Yehudis.
Now I understand why I always felt like anti to move from the and the grasping. That is, I think I like that they use the word sense. I understood Nechama because I think it has some emotion, but I like to stay with the and I would hate the fact to move to describe details. I felt that, and now you said you lose something. So you agree in a way. I understand why I felt it. I cannot really give it over the whole thing. even if I'll describe, let's say, all the details, that that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of could lose maybe some of the answer.
Exactly. So that's what it feels like. So now we can really understand Reb Hillel's question in the first paragraph. Why do we do this process of unifying Hashem's name through Bina and not through Chochmah? It feels like, you know, so much gets lost in the Bina process. Literally, how is that possible? That with Shema Israel is so high? Shouldn't we be doing it through Chochmah? So now we can really appreciate the question.
Can I make a little comment on that?
Sure, Nechama.
So getting back to the example of a beautiful piece of art. Okay, so you can, you know, analyze it and look at the color and the lines and the composition and all of that. Well, there's one thing missing, and that's the artist. That's the artist is the soul of the painting. So I could just try to copy that and it's not going to be the same.
And your point is, or your question is?
Well, you know, maybe the artist is Hashem, but is that there's always something missing. How do we experience the whole?
Right.
I wanted to say a comment, if I may. There is over here a line that when you read it, it clarified even more. I have a sister that I'm very close with her, and often my nature is that I'm impressed with things. And my sister would tell me, give me data, give me details. And I see over here this line, מה שאין כן כשמשיג איכותו בכל הפרטים שבו, which means the more you understand the details and the more you understand the quality, the more you're able to give over. And then hopefully the listener could build a picture in his mind. Just comment that it really resonated with me, the idea of the details.
Right. Okay. So Sarah, it's beautiful. You know, here you're having this dialogue between Nechama, in a way, the artist, looking at, you know, how is it possible that the soul of the thing is going to be the artist? And now, Sarah, what I hear you saying is, yeah, I'm starting to see his point about the details. The details are going to be key. And the more that I'm in the details, the more something is going to be revealed. And with that in mind, I want to move on to going a little bit deeper. But like literally what you're saying starts to become the answer. Because when we sit with this text and go into the details, things become, you have more questions and some things become clearer, but it all becomes sharper. So now I want to share.
You know, before you go to the deeper, can I ask
Yes.
a question or something like that?
Sure.
Because it's really so beautiful how each one of you added a dimension and highlighted a dimension of the Chachma versus the Bina. But for me also, the idea, the two first ideas about where's the artist, and that's why also at one point, even though I chose a building to dwell on, it was more like something surreal about it, because it was a beautiful building, and it turned out later one of the 10 most beautiful buildings in Yerushalayim. But then I said, why? Let me go to the Beis Hamikdash, as Malka did, and how to convey there's a Shechina. And when we're going into Hisbonenus, I'm thinking we're going into spiritual dimensions. And do we have Asias for those spiritual dimensions? So how with words, in other words, if you don't put the neshama into it, it's going to be easier to just describe details. But when you have a neshama in that building or in that vision or in that something you want to describe, where are you going to find the Asias for that? If you have, are you really seeing it? So I'm trying to figure out what my hisbonenus, where am I going with my hisbonenus?
Can
I
I
don't-
answer? Can I, this is Malki. Isn't it only in the Torah? Like that's the whole Torah is made of osios, and human beings are called, speaking spirits. There's a reason why Bina is so important, but it can't just be our own letters. It has to be letters of Torah, and maybe Tefillah also.
Very good.
Sure.
Beautiful.
Okay, so these are, this is the process. Asking the questions, because the question itself is a vessel for the answer. If you don't have questions, the answer can come, but you won't even know it's there. So this is important. So look, this is the worksheet that I asked everybody to, to prepare. And the first page of the worksheet is just about content, because if you come to the class already knowing the content, it's like, it's easier to go deeper. So this was what you were supposed to do to prepare for the class. I'm just going to read the questions and then we'll go and talk about the deeper questions. So this was, how does Reb Hillel define Chochmah in a single sentence, Hebrew and English? Because I think it's important for you to know that and remember that. And the same with Bina, question 2. Question 3, using the example of seeing a beautiful building, describe the Chochmah experience. Number 4, using the example of seeing a beautiful building, describe the Bina experience process. Oh, number 5, we didn't get to yet. And number 6, I was really just suggesting that you try to know the content of the paragraph as well as possible. So close your eyes and review in your mind the development of ideas in the paragraph. Okay, so now these are a few questions that we're just going to go through together. Maybe a deeper exploration. So I wanted you to write down, what are Hebrew code words for Chochmah? So I want everybody to write this down, and then so that everybody's doing it. What are the Hebrew code words that you know for Chochmah?
Margish.
Okay, so the first very important one is margish, sensing. What else could you suggest?
השכלת עצם העניין.
השכלת עצם העניין, yes.
Oh, I have to disappear.
Is
All right.
iron iron?
Iron is always relative. So we'll, at the end of this paragraph, he says, Chochmah is an iron relative to Bina, but relative to what's above it, it's a yesh. So you can't say that Chochmah is always an iron. No.
But not from here, we say Chochmah is like Barak HaMavrik, like a spark.
Oh, okay. So we didn't get there yet, but yes, we will see that it's Barak HaMavrik is an aspect of Chochmah. Okay, but I think Margish and Haskalat Etzem Ha'inyan are the most important ones. Derech Klal could be one, but those are the two main words. What are the Hebrew code words for Bina? Take a minute and write it down. I want you to be doing the thinking process, everybody.
What about Re'iyah?
And Masik.
I just want to mute some people. Okay. So, okay, what is the word for Bina?
Hasaga.
Hasaga. Okay. And what is that? And what does that mean?
Grasping, like details, grasping.
Grasping. Okay. So another form of that is masig. Hasaga, masig, they're different forms of the same verb, but it's the grasping. What else would you say are code words for Bina?
Tom?
Sorry?
I said Tom.
Tam, reasons.
Reason.
Okay.
His lapsus.
With lapshut in clothing. Yes.
Savara,
Svara, explanations.
Pratim.
Pratim, details. Okay, good. Did everybody get that? You can watch the video later. Okay. In your own words, describe the difference between Chochmah and Bina. Just in a couple, just like in a line. Just what comes up for yourself.
How much is everybody writing for this help?
Okay, Gitty, you'll tell us your answer.
I don't know. I made it very short.
Okay.
ACAs and Protim.
So can you put that into a sentence for us?
And let me close the door because you're talking 1 minute. That we can bring the idea into letters, which means words. And we can present details, many, many details.
Okay. Somebody else like to give
Wait, was
us?
that Chochmah or Bina?
it's both.
I just
Different.
explained how what Bina adds, direct,
Oh, okay.
what it does to Chachma.
Just describe the difference between Chochmah and Bina.
Okay, so one is letters, one is not letters. One is seeing, one is sensing, one is understand, comprehension.
Okay, good.
And I had Chochmah is a general sense of the matter, and Bina elaborates with details and completes the picture.
Okay,
I would
excellent.
add another thing, if I may.
Sure.
I had a teacher that once said, if you understand something, you're able to explain it. And in order to understand it, we, again, going back to the point that I noticed before, really seeing all the details in order to be able to explain it.
Right.
Actually, I thought you're going to say, Sarah, that by explaining it, you understand it much better.
Mm.
By using ACAs, your
Wow.
Bina develops.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. That too. Yeah. Okay, so then number 3 we didn't get to yet. Number 4 we kind of spoke about a bit. How does this description of Chochmah and Bina strengthen Reb Hillel's question in paragraph 1 regarding why we unify Hashem's name with Bina and not Chochmah? So anybody want to answer that?
Can I answer, or someone else
Sure.
could if they wanted?
Sure. Go.
That Hashem wants to be known in the lowest world and in all the details. So when Hashem is known in all the details, that's when he's truly seen. He's one. Like it's it's like how if he's just one in Shamayim, it doesn't really mean that much. He's not the same thing. So does it make any sense?
Is that making the question stronger, Malka?
No, that's my answer.
I think
okay.
I think she's trying to hear from us how the question is actually becoming a bigger question.
Yes.
May I answer or try to say so this is what we mentioned before. The Chochmah is higher. Why is it higher? Because we said when we starting to explain, we are going down. We are missing something from the Chokhmah. So that's why we asked. The question is even stronger. Why we do it the Bina and not through Chokhmah?
Exactly. Yes, that's the question that I was asking.
But that's assuming that you're a person who sees everything at once. You're like, we are human beings, and Hashem gave us the Torah. We don't. The way most people process is they have to get to the details. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I don't really know. I'm guessing that.
But I'm not sure if you understood. This question was really referring back to Reb Hillel's question in paragraph 1, and about why we have to do this through Bina, not Chokhmah. And I'm suggesting that in this paragraph, as Yehudis mentioned, we come to an understanding. It feels like Bina is much less powerful than Chokhmah. The Bina experience seems to lose something from the Chokhmah experience. And that's all I'm referring to here. Nothing deeper than that. So, that's really just what we're looking at here. Okay, the rest of the workshop is for you. The worksheet is for you to fill out on your own, to write a 1 to 3 line summary of the main point of the paragraph, how you see it, record any questions you have. Like, you see that when you're going deeper, questions come up and you don't yet have answers for them. You might find later that you come back to these questions and you'll find an answer. And record any insights you may have about this paragraph that you'd like to remember. So, for example, Sarah was saying that, she had this aha moment about the power of the details and the situation with her sister or sister-in-law. So those kinds of things, this is what, I'm suggesting that you write them down, because there's this process that you're going through. And then we're getting to our gazing meditation, which I want to do now. And this time we're not going to do such a classic gazing meditation. I want to do more of an exercise. And this is the exercise. So I want you to look around the room that you're in right now, or the bus, wherever it is that some people are in. And I want you to find something beautiful. And I want you to just look at that beauty and experience it. And then after a while, to shift over to thinking about how would you describe that. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to just sit with those two processes, and then we'll come back and discuss it. Okay, is everybody ready? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for two shares, for two people to share. Either you can, I'd like somebody who hasn't really spoken. Yoni, would you be happy to share with us? Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to describe to us. You need to unmute, though.
Okay, so I was staring at a bowl within a bowl, and objects in the bowl, and one of the bowls was made by my son when he was about 6 years old, and it's made out of paper mache, and it's all undulated and like uneven and imperfect, and inside it are some sticks that were bound together with wire by another son when he was little. And next to that was a pebble, like a dark gray pebble from a stream from one of our holidays. And those are all inside a bowl that I made at pottery when I was doing pottery. And behind it was a picture of the Rebbe, and it was all offset by his dark coat. And like the beauty of the imperfection of it, and the sweetness of the children, and the pebble of being so raw and pure, and the colors, and yeah, that's, I don't know if I must do any more.
Yeah. So can you, thanks, Jons, for describing that. Can you explain, can you describe for us that those two experiences, the one of experiencing it and the one of trying to share it? You're muted.
I'm sorry, who are you asking? Did you mention my name? No.
No.
Okay.
The experience of it is just like, it's like an artwork. And then I started dissecting it into all the parts of each person involved in it. But the experience is more like textures and colors and line, and uneven line with smooth line, but it's that explanation still. The experience of it.
That's your experience. Okay, it's let's leave it at that for the moment, because I want to come back to it. It's not the right question for now. Thanks, Yoni. So I want to ask, like, as here we said, kids, okay, love that. Who would like to share? Sarah, how about you? Yeah. You're muted.
I was just looking at the chandelier. And when we moved to here, I wanted to make it, how to understate it, not something fancy, but I'm looking at it and I really liked it. And it's not expensive and not anything, but then I'm looking at all the details that created this. And I'm trying to, if I had to explain, so it has 5 lights and it has curls. And that reminded me that we, in the Chumash, we learn Parshat Terumah and Tetzaveh, all the details of the menorah, and you try to understand it. And I'm trying to explain my own chandelier here. That's my experience.
Okay, thank you. Wow. Okay.
Can each of you show us the object so we can have Ria, or no?
No.
Yes.
No. I don't want to, it's not the point of it.
Can I just
Just to compare how we perceive it to how
No.
it can
It's not, this is not the exercise. So Sarah, I don't want you to do that.
Good enough.
Can I say what the feeling was when I looked at that? Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah.
It was a very like peaceful, secure feeling that I have a picture of the Rebbe and then all these beautiful things in front of it. And it makes me feel calm and my space. I feel like it's a cocoon in a way, and like very loving, a very loving place for me.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, because we're a relatively small group, what I was going to do is put you in breakout groups and let everybody describe and receive. But because, we said that we want to keep according to time. So I'm just going to keep it as with the group and do a couple more shares. And then as a group, come to some kind of understanding of this process. So, Yehudis, would you like to share with us?
I'm down if I should share what I'm looking at or just a different experience. That I love garden, and we have. I'm going to the gardens. We have a beautiful botanical garden not far from us, and I was trying to explain my friend. I love being there. It's beautiful. It's the experience is that it's nature. It's a Hashem, and I try to explain that what's so great about it, and what are the details besides the size and the different trees and the combination of different trees and different shapes of leaves and different heights and the ways they are. You see the sky through them. It's different structure and different flowers, different colors and curves and a lake. So this is when I started to try to explain why is the garden so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And what I like to learn, I like the space, I like the nature itself. And I like who made it.
Okay, beautiful. Sippy, you want to share with us? I guess not. Okay. Miriam, you want to share something with us?
I'm just connecting. Yeah, my overwhelm, it's always like this feeling of, I can't take it in, I can hardly breathe. It's just beyond, it's just so beautiful. And then analyzing it, I've just written down some very short words of actually it's brittle and it's transparent and it's the most beautiful deep color red. It's a bowl and it looks like a Moroccan geometric container for a candle that just has many facets, and it's gold and it's pink and it's purple and it's rainbow colors, and it looks like a pomegranate in its shape, and it's just breathtakingly lovely. That's how I can describe it. But yeah, I see the point. I really see the Chokhmah experience is often, it's either that a spark, or else it's, when it comes to feeling, I think it's just like breathtaking for me. The difference between the intellectual side of it and the emotional heart side of it.
So what I hear you saying is that your Chokhmah experience is like a heart experience. It's you margish, you literally feel it in your heart, in your body, right? Is that what you're saying? Okay. But I want to suggest something else here, is that in listening to people describe what they're seeing, and even for those of you who have described it, there's something that is gained as well.
There's something that is what?
Gained.
It's
That's
an
what I was trying to say
appreciation.
before.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that word either, what you said. Something that is
That
Gain.
we're talking here about how much is lost.
Gained.
I'm
Okay.
saying
gained.
that
You said something that is gained?
in my experience as a listener, there's something very profound in the way the person describes what they're seeing, even beyond the actual physical object. You know, so for example, Yoni was describing her, in having to describe it, she was talking about, she's not just talking about the object, but what the object means to her, about her children, about the Rebbe. It's not just the physical object. There's a whole detailed process in that. And my question to Yoni really was about, you know, that looking at it and then describing it. What happens? It seems like having to describe it evokes something deeper. So, for example, when Sarah is describing the what do you call it? I want to say minarot, the minarot.
Candelabra, whatever, chandelier, whatever it is, yeah.
So then, you know, at first you were just describing it physically, but then it evoked in you something about the Bet HaMikdash and the menorah there, and how we look at all the details there and try, you know, it evoked something beyond the physical object, right? And with Miriam describing this, you know, whatever it is, this bowl, for me, it felt like there's something you spoke about the Chochmah experience as being in your heart, but it felt to me like your description was very heart-based. You know, that you feel that what was communicated to me was a lot of love. And that it evoked, so I'm asking you, it evoked in you going into that Bina process, seemed to evoke in you, certainly through your words, some like a deep love. I felt that very much in Yoni's and Miriam's. Sarah, maybe in a different way, like it's not so much love-based, but more conceptual, like a Rachav going into a winding of it. Yehuda's, well, I think, you know, you started to talk a little bit about, you know, what you like about the garden. What I'm suggesting here is.
But I ended that I love who made it, that it brought
you
me
love
to
who
love
made it.
Hashem. And
Yeah.
Right,
that's the
exactly.
purpose of the
Right. Can I share something?
It goes beyond the physical object. And yes, Giti, just to finish my point here, I mean, I don't want to belabor the point, but it seems to me that through this exercise, what we can begin to feel for ourselves, as each one of you were mashpia, who's describing, and also those of us receiving the explanation, is something about Bina that is not a loss, that there's something there.
Mhm.
I'd like to add on, Diburim, Dvarim, Hashem created through the speech. So when we are talking, that's how we are different than all the other beings in our ability to speak. And when we speak, we create. The Rebbe, and right now, especially we're in the time that it's Ashkacha Pratis, we're in Sefer Devarim, but don't say Devarim, Diburim. The Diburim or said Dvarim. So absolutely, there's so much gain. And I, like, in a way, I want to say that not really anything is lost. because as the father gives the semen, which is the chokhmah, the development of the child is fully there, using that plus all the bina, all that the mother does to develop it. So it's absolutely all there,
Right.
plus so much more.
Very good.
Sippy, that's Giti, I'll come to you in a second because I know you want, but Sippy, I think that's a beautiful idea that you're touching on, that otiot. So I want to take it back to otiot because the speech originally comes from the otiot of the Bina thought, and it is a creative process, and we're creating something new. It's a fascinating addition to this discussion, if you think about it, that there's a new creation that happens. And yeah, very interesting. Actually, in chapter 2, the Reb Hillel talks about it, that you'll find in Bina, there is something that is there's something that is new, that is created, that's very interesting, Tzipi. Kol hakavod. Okay, Kitty.
Very nice. So what I wanted to share about what I was looking at, I just happened to relocate to another table and room. And suddenly I was near this beautiful bouquet of flowers that Ashinaria, Miriam Gittel, your neighbor at 706, she bought it last week, she brought it over and it's still looking in absolutely perfect shape. So I was studying this and all the beauty that goes into, an array of flowers and arrangement and the shape and the contrast and the colors and when one color picks up from the other and all that things. And then suddenly I noticed these 2 lilies on one side. And as I was looking at them, suddenly I saw something I never saw. And that is that they kind of look like megaphones. So almost like muted megaphones, like talking out from this bouquet. I never would have picked up on it because I was studying it now. And then I said, oh, so that's so this whole thing is Sameach. It's from the realm of the plant kingdom. But suddenly I'm discovering that there's like a medaber in there, like there's a talk in there, which really brings it up to the higher level of kingdom, right? To the medaber. So I thought it was pretty interesting.
That's a real hisbonenut on a bar. Hisbonenut on a vase of flowers.
Yeah, I made a picture, but then I said I'm going to send it, but I said forget it. If you said no, we're not supposed to look. We're just supposed to describe.
Okay. No, but now you can look. But there's something. What I wanted to keep us with is the idea that on the one hand we said, oh, there's, it sounds like something's going to get lost in Bina, and from this experience we see that there's something very mysterious about that Bina experience. And for me, when I first did this experiment with a group, a small group, I didn't expect this at all. I thought we would just have this experience of, I can't, you just have to see the picture like we did in the beginning. But really there's something, I began to understand how this Bina experience connects to Bina Liba, because there is something very deep that is evoked in us as the mashpia and as the makabel, as the person describing, like it draws you, each one of you, like, Giti just described. Suddenly I noticed something else about it that in the first glance, as beautiful as it was, I didn't notice. And it gives, there's a whole new life to it. And
or you need more?
So maybe, can I suggest, maybe instead of saying that you lose something, maybe we're really what it is really, and really it is that it's just more deeply embedded. It's always in there, as Sippy offered in her mashal of how a child develops and the seed is there. It's just more deeply embedded and you have to work to reveal it, but it's never not there.
So absolutely. It's not that it's not there, but it's also, Tzipi also suggested something which is, you know, in the father-mother mashal works as well, is that something new is developed, even though it's there in the seed, but, you know, the mother develops it into a child. So there is a new creation,
So,
although it's not entirely new, and this is where we go back and forth.
but we're really adding to what Hashem started with, and that's the whole point why he's doing this, is so that we can add.
So that we can be engaged. Okay.
Just engaged, not just engaged.
Please, I'm burning with some clarification I need. Okay.
Okay.
So when I started looking at my object, I was imagining, let me say, what if you said, just say what you see and describe it, describe all the details. So as I was looking at the object, I was thinking of all the memories that go with it. And then as I'm listening to particularly Yoni and Miriam, what I saw was they were talking about their relationship to this object. So which one is, I'm guessing that the Bina is the relationship to the object. But again, if it's just, you have situations like that, that you have to describe details, fact, just what's there. So and hold back on any interpretations or, you know, all the touchy-feely stuff. So what would that be?
So let me ask you a question, Nechama. You know, we're talking about beauty here. How do you describe beauty just in cold details and facts? You know, there's something about beauty itself that is not just,
But
you know,
did
it's
you
not.
say describe the beauty, you did say find a beautiful object. Yes, now I recall that.
So
But
what
you
we're
didn't
trying
say
to
describe the
communicate,
beauty.
yes, we're trying to describe the beauty,
Okay.
not the object.
But if your task was just to give like a cold description, what is it? What do you see? What would you call that?
Maybe architecture. You know, if I have to say to somebody, I want the room to be, you know, this few meters, but really, I want something else for that room. You know, there's always, I think it was you who said earlier, you know, there's a spiritual dimension to everything. There's very little that we can describe. Even scientists these days are having a hard time, you know, describing the universe just in cold, hard facts. Because when you go into the details, then it's not just about dimensions. Something else is happening because Hashem is always there. Or I don't know what, you know, really, maybe everything that I've, you know, I don't know how to say this, but this is his bonus. It's just a process. You don't have to have all the answers, and we don't. We're in a process. We're in this process between us and the text and reality and life. And yeah, here's Gitti says beauty is a Tanug experience of oneg, of pleasure. Miriam says there's an aspect of heart felt in Chochmah as well. Yeah, definitely. And really I think the chidush for me was that in Bina, there's a heart experience.
I think that what I found out, even though I thought it was just describing what you see, that I couldn't do that. But what I thought was I had to report what I see. And then I had the, but I mean, there's a story when where the Rebbe differentiates between photography and art. You're probably familiar with that. So Bina, tell me if this is correct. Bina is not just the cold details.
Right. But Chachma, and that's why I want to contest that. Chachma, how could Chachma be a heartfelt experience?
Chachma is it's clinical and it's objective. And Bina, you said Liba, Bina Liba. So of course it's heart.
Right. But what we're now at chapter 1, what we learned at the end is they're interconnected. You can't have Chachma without Bina and no Bina without Chachma. So we're taking it apart.
Let me just clarify that. When Miriam says that it's a heart experience, and I'm affirming that, I'm not necessarily saying it technically. I'm saying it's margish. You sense it. Where do you sense it? We think we sense it in our heart. Reb Hillel says we sense it in our brain. Now, can you differentiate between where do you experience oneg? Oneg, there's no one place that you experience it. Anyway, I can't really say to you technically. Right now, what I understand technically is what's in the text. We understand what he's saying. He's saying, Chachma, you see, it's like vision, you see the whole picture, derech klal, and you sense it. You sense the beauty of it, for example. Now, when it comes to Bina, now where is that in your body? We don't know, but he's saying the experience is in your right brain. And that's all we know about it so far. Later we'll learn more, and later there's more. Bina, you have to shift. In order to communicate what you experience in Chochmah, there needs to be a shift, and it's a shift into your left brain. And in order to do that, you need to start looking at why is it beautiful? So the reason it's beautiful is in the details. So something shifts in the observer to look into the details, and then they'll be able to say why they experience the beauty. It's not the beauty itself, but they'll be able to communicate something. And that's really what we know now. What I was trying to do here in this class is give us an experience of both of those things. Because really, Reb Hillel is trying to describe something to us. And it's something that's real. It's something that we experience. So he's using our right and left brain experience of seeing a beautiful building. It's real. It's not just theory. So I'm trying to put together the words on the page and our experience. Does it bring up a lot of questions? Yes. Is it more interesting right now than it was before? I hope so. Do we have all the answers? No. That's the point. Sarah.
I have a question. We went through it yesterday, my friend and myself, and we had a question with the two examples. He says that the first example is about Asiya, and the second example is Chochmah Uvina of Midot. And why is it?
Okay, so now that's what we're going to look at tomorrow and next week. We're going to look at the second part of the paragraph. So please look at it in some detail, and maybe we'll move on to the next paragraph as well. I'm not sure that, but I might put out the worksheet for that anyway, because hopefully, we'll be able to go quite quickly through that second part of the paragraph, but it's very interesting and it turns our mind upside down. So, okay, that's the perfect place for us to end. And I want to say thank you to everybody.
I have a question before. Intuitiveness is Chochmah or Bina?
I didn't hear the question. Can you repeat it?
Intuitive. When a person is intuitive, it picks up.
So, in the English translation, when one of the English translations that I have, they talk about Chochmah as being intuition. And the reason that I don't use that word is because we associate, especially as women, we associate intuition with like having a sixth sense, all kinds of other things. So I don't like to use that word, but it certainly is an intuitive experience. Is it when you have an intuition about something, is that chokhmah? And I don't know. And that's why I don't use the word, because I think that the way that we would use the word intuition and the way we experience it might not necessarily be chokhmah. So, Tzipi, I hope that's enough of an answer for you.
Habat aro'eh et hanolad.
I think we'll wait for Mila to answer that question. It's a good question, you know, and it's good. That's why in the worksheet, I say there, write down your questions, write down that question, and see if in 18 paragraphs time you have a clearer answer to that question. Is that, you know, what does that mean when that somebody sees what will come of something? And is that the chokhmah that we're speaking about here? I don't know. But that's why I want to, you know, what's really important in this process is what we're doing now, which is you're just engaging and you're going into the details, and it starts, what I think we start to do is we go into, we're not just in the Bina of Bina, or in the, which is the Orech of Bina, we start to go into the Rochav of Bina, right? You start to think laterally, is it this, is it that? How is it connected? What is it? So this is the process of Hisbonenut. You don't want to just stay, you know, just with the information itself. You're starting to go deeper. And the point is to come to the Omek, where then you shift it completely into right brain and you start to connect to the Haskalat Etzema Inyan. You're unwrapping all the details to get to the Nakuda. That's the process. Mm-hmm. Doesn't mean that you have answers all the time. Questions are sometimes much more important than answers, but write them down. And also write down your insights so that you're taking your process seriously. Okay. Thank you. And
can you tell us what pages for next week? Are we doing DAS? Is it paragraph 2, 3, or 2 and part of 3?
We didn't finish paragraph 2 because there's a second section of paragraph 2, which deals with another example of Chokhmah and Bina. And that's what we're going to do next week. If we have time, we will continue into Das. I'm not sure, you know, it's difficult to tell when we're in this process how long it'll take. And it's not so important, you know, as you can see, it's more important to go deep. That's what Iyun means, to go deep into it rather than to cover a lot of ground. So I'm not sure, but certainly we will be doing the second part of paragraph 2. And I'm not sure exactly what the pages are in English, but it's about the psak, the Talmudic discussion. All right.
Oh, I would like to also, what you said at the beginning of the shiur, that somebody mentioned that we should go deeper into those inyanim of Shema. And I think this is fascinating. I think the way you did today, if everybody brings their experience, then all of a sudden we start looking beyond of just the way we look at something, but really experience in a whole different way. So like Bina is a whole world, Chachma is a whole world, Shema is a whole world. Like, so I think going deeper just into those inyanim, it would be fascinating.
So Tzipi, as I described, there's a limit to what we can do in a group. The point is to sit with yourself or a chavuta, but ultimately the end of it is going to have to be with yourself and the text. That's where you can go as deep as you want into any particular inyan. And that's the hitbonenut process. You can't go around it. I hope that this was useful to you and that you enjoyed this process in the group. But what my point was to that person was, yes, go and do that. Go and sit with the text and meditate on each idea as it comes up for you. Like you don't have to do every idea, but you look at it and you say, wow, what is that? And you think about it.
So it for me comes up more when an experience comes up. For example, when I speak to a whole bunch of people and all of them are going through the same thing, like they're all expressing the same thing, and we're talking like 7 or 10 different people that are saying, and then you realize that what you start thinking, what is causing, how is it that so many different people are going through the same thing? And then you start realizing that this must be kind of vibrating from something. They are experiencing that. And that also, like sometimes when I'm thinking about doing something and it, like all of a sudden a thought comes to me, if the whole world started doing that, is the world going to be in a good place? So like as we experience things, like obviously you start thinking it in forms of Bina and Chochma, but sitting and actually meditating, I need to, I don't know, I need to learn how to do that more.
So, this is what I'm trying to, it helps in a group. As you say, there's something very beautiful about the group, about cross-pollination. But when you sit with yourself, you will see that there's also something very special that happens. You just have to sit with the text. It's as simple as that. Okay, we said that we wanted to keep the time, and I think that we've done, a good job of dealing with the subject. And thank you so much to everybody for participating, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.